The opinions expressed in the following program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers nor Rogers TV.
Hi everyone, welcome to this week's episode of #NoFilter with me, Ruchika Bindra. We're talking about teens, leadership, community, and so much more. Stay tuned, everyone. Hi everyone, welcome to this week's episode of #NoFilter. Today I have with me a very special guest that I'm very excited to introduce. Her name is Kelly Laval. She is a youth mobilizer and an award-winning entrepreneur. Hi Kelly, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited. It took me months to get her on, but I'm so excited. Our fabulous team panelists, we have Neetka, Matthew, and Cassandra. Hello.
Hi.
So we're going to get straight into it. Kelly, I'm going to ask you, you do something very powerful. You say you're a youth mobilizer. You talk to a very important demographic. Tell me why you chose the youth.
Well, essentially my work focuses on bridging the gap. I started off as a motivational speaker, helping empower my peers to find their voice, build confidence, but more importantly, know how to act on ideas and kind of achieve our futures. And then I learned that there was a big gap. Because there's one thing to motivate and figure out what you want to do, but then there's the other side of organizations. So then I work with organizations on how to understand and tap into the innovation of young people and how we can kind of essentially come together.
Very cool. So I like that term, youth mobilizer. I think it's very fitting for the work you do. So it's a time right now where people are graduating. Are you guys graduating as well?
Yeah.
Okay. So a lot of our teens tweeted us. They said they're graduating, they're about to head out to school and college, and they're at a point in their life where, you know, they felt that cushion being in high school. They had that support. Now they're off on their own. How can you harness sort of these skills of confidence and leadership when you're at such a pivotal point in your life where you're about to go off on this kind of unknown journey?
Well, I find it's hard nowadays because it's not like we're set to one career in our path. We anticipate that we're going to have multiple different directions. And so knowing that that you don't have to be set in your ways yet. I think sometimes we feel pressured that we need to know what we want to do right off the bat. And I've found with my peers that sometimes we choose too quickly and we end up going through school and doing science or something just because we think that's what we're supposed to do. And then we end up realizing our real passion is videography or something else.
We jump the gun and then we realize after.
So what I would encourage is be open to your experience, especially if you're just going into school, and get involved and start exploring those interests.
Okay, guys, are you at the point where you're thinking, where are you going, what are you doing? Do you guys have sort of a set goal in mind?
Yeah, so actually for me, since grade 9, I've had like this one idea, one goal. Obviously I have looked into other avenues, but I just thought this one was the best for me and my personality. So media, which is for me, and you know, I find it to be great right now.
How ironic.
Yeah.
Good choice.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think both me and Neetka are at the point where we're graduating grade 12 and we're both going off to university. And we're lucky that we both know what we're doing. We're actually going to school together next year. Yes. But a lot of my peers have absolutely no idea what they're going to do. So like you said, rushing into it, they all feel pressured that you're graduating. You need to pick a university or college that you're going to go to and what you're going to study. And they're all nervous that, you know, you're going to do 4 years and realize you hate science or you hate math, and you're worried about wasting your money and wasting your time.
Well, that's the thing, is that we think that our path is set in stone sometimes. And I've learned, I used to be one of those that had like everything planned and I knew what I wanted to do, but I learned that life doesn't go that way. So I actually started off in school. I was a total science and math nerd. I went to school for biomedical science and honors business. I was doing a dual degree. I did a thesis in herbal medicine looking at the anti-aging properties of ginseng in my first 2 years. I completely now I'm in media and motivational speaking, speaking to stadiums, and completely opposite to in the lab working on ginseng. And I realized that, and so it was a big shock for my family when I flipped and did 360. And I learned that you need to be open to the fact that life's going to take you in different directions. And what I find that's better, instead of focusing on a specific sector that you think you want is finding a passion.
I think that's
Find what your passion is, because your passion will be that compass. So your passion is media. Now that could take many forms. It could be on a TV show, it could be behind the scenes, it could be, as you were talking about, working with CBC or something in a marketing standpoint, but your passion is media. That can stay consistent, but the form it takes can be different. And if you find that and pursue that, it's a little bit better way to guide
than
you.
saying I have a set in stone sort of name of a career I want to
Yeah.
do. And Matthew, what about for you? Do you find for guys they're a little bit more stressed or less stressed?
Well, no, like, I feel like there's something that people will say, it's if you do what you love, then you'll never have to work a day in your life.
Yes.
And it's really that if you do what you love and you follow your passion, it doesn't matter if you're a guy or a girl or how old you are. If you do what you love and you're working towards it, no matter where you end up, you're going to be all right at the end of the day.
And I also think, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like teens are a little bit more fortunate today because our parents have evolved a little bit. Back in the day, they were a little bit more strict, you know, like I remember when I grew up, it was like, okay, what are you going to be, a doctor, lawyer, like, what are you going to do? And, you know, if you choose a career, it was like, okay, well, how much revenue is it going to bring you? You know, my parents' first question was, okay, so how much are you going to make from that, you know? And I was lucky because when I said, okay, I'm going into communications and I'm going into media, my parents were like, okay, so what are you going to do? Like, but are you going to be able to do something, you know? And as long as you're happy, that's fine. But I know a lot of parents, you know, even a few years back were very like, you need a set career that generated a sort of, you know, a guaranteed revenue. Do you feel like today that's a little bit, they've eased up a little bit on that? Do you feel like our teens have a little bit more of that flexibility?
I say it depends on the culture. I find that there's some cultural families that still have a little bit of a stricter view on what to follow, and I find with those individuals they do have that added pressure where they feel like they have to please mom and dad, but at the same time they feel and they know that they're supposed to go in a different direction. So I think it does depend a little bit on the family structure. Overall, though, I do find our generation has almost increased pressure in the sense that at least teens, we're Generation Z. We've seen millennials. We've seen the terrible recession and working conditions and the unemployment. So we feel the pressure of the poor job market, the competitive landscape of everyone fighting for our jobs, and then the pressure of, oh, by the way, I need to figure out what I need to do.
And in the middle of all of that, you want to be successful.
So I find it's deceiving, but I think we almost have more pressure.
Okay.
And I think that a lot of times what I'm seeing is instead our generation's becoming entrepreneurial. We want to take our future into our own hands. So rather than going the traditional route, we want to create our own businesses and control our future, which is a refreshing and different take on things, which enters your own challenges.
And I love it because every time I meet teens and they say, you know, I want to be a startup or I want to be kind of, you know, somebody that takes things into my own hands, I said, I think that's great because it's so hard to walk on your own sometimes, and it's so hard to take that leadership on yourself and walk with that direction. And I think it's a quality that it's hard to, you know, kind of tap into when you're so young. So on the other side of the break, we're going to talk about how leadership can play a role as you're entering the job market. Stay tuned right after the break on #NoFilter with myself, Kelly Laval, Nitka, Matthew, and Cassandra. Hi everyone, welcome back to #NoFilter. So I know we're talking about teens and leadership and empowerment, and this is great, and I'm very excited, but I know some exciting news about Kelly, and I can't keep secrets. Everyone knows that. So, Kelly, there's a rumor that you are going to meet the Queen of England. Please tell us.
That is not a rumor. 28 days to be exact.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yes, yeah. So
Tell me about
I
this
am going to
journey.
meet the Queen. I was named the Queen's Young Leader for 2016.
Congratulations.
So I'm going to be going for a 10-day residency in the UK. For the Queen's Young Leader program, and it's a really exciting opportunity. I've been wanting to expand my work to the Europe in general for a while, so it'll be exciting to connect with some global peers and share the youth voice, the Canadian youth voice,
all
to
the
a
way
new
across
height.
there. Okay, are you kind of practicing your curtsy and like how you're going to bow?
Well, it's funny. My trademark is my hair accessory,
Yes.
and the UK is the land of the fascinator.
Yes, it is.
So I have custom fascinators getting made. I'm planning those out to go with my outfit.
Fun.
So that's probably my excitement.
I think it's a great honor for you, and I think it's a great landmark in your career. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And we're excited.
Well, really it's not so much the honor as much as I find all these opportunities more what they represent. The fact of, we talked about do what you love and the power of passion. Where it really goes to show that I didn't really come from any special background. So to get to that point shows my peers that with passion and that drive, that if you work hard enough, really the world can be your oyster and you never know where it will take you.
And how did you switch from being in a lab to doing research to wanting to talk and speak? How did you harness sort of those leadership skills? Because they're very opposite, right?
Yeah, so in school I was bullied quite a bit and went through a lot of hardships during high school, some health concerns and such, that really kind of put me to the test and made me go into a lot of self-reflection.
Okay.
And I wanted to share some of the insights I learned from my journey after overcoming those hardships with my peers. And I decided to share that live in a stadium as a motivational speaker at We Day. That was the very first time I'd ever spoken and as a speaker. And when I looked out in that crowd and I looked at my peers looking back at me, I expected to see 7,000 judging peers. And instead, I saw 7,000 like-minded peers with the same energy and ideas and drive to wanting to do something meaningful. But also the same lack of confidence that I shared and direction and confusion of how do I take this idea and bring it to that level. And I learned, I didn't know at the time the journey it would take me, but I knew that that's what I wanted to do, and that's kind of started the snowball effect.
Your aha moment was on that section. Okay, so guys, in terms of leadership, do you guys feel like it would be easy for you to go up and kind of speak as a team in front of a large group of people? Or when you guys do presentations, do you guys get nervous, or is it something that you're confident on?
Actually, for me, that's just my strength, to go up and talk in front of like a crowd or anything. So I think, you know, I thank whoever taught me that skill. But yeah, like if anybody ever needs like someone to come and speak about anything, you know, do an intro for anything, you know, they usually pick me because I just love speaking.
You don't get nervous at all?
Not at all. So I thank people for teaching me that. But yeah, it's
what about you, Matthew?
But I mean, like if you're talking about something that you're passionate about, something that you know a lot about, that you're knowledgeable and you like talking about it, then it doesn't matter who you're talking about it in front of. That's something that you know something about and that you're going to teach other people about. So no matter who, if it's 10,000 people, 10 people, if it's something that you like and you're passionate about, then you could speak on and on and on for hours about it.
Yeah.
I think I actually relate to what you were saying. I used to be really shy. I actually used to like shake every time I did a presentation. And the night before, I'd read my notes over and over and over, and I'd just think of the worst possible situation of myself screwing up. But I think as I got older and I was like almost like forced to do more presentations in high school, I became more like confident, and now I love speaking in front of people. Like I'm on TV now, so.
Well, I think to both of your points, Matthew, I think you really touched on something too when you talked about if you're passionate about something and you know a lot about it. I actually used to, I would write out my speeches and I would practice them and rehearse them and memorize my speeches. And now I don't use any script. I just, when I go to a presentation, I have nothing planned. I go there and I just,
that you feel?
And I speak from the heart. And I find my most effective speeches are when I just get lost in my passion and speak from the heart. So I find that if those who are struggling speaking, if you can try and kind of absorb what's around you and forget that you're speaking to people and just reflect internally and just kind of speak what's coming out from your heart, a lot of that confidence will come naturally to you.
And I think that's a good tip, to just let it sort of come from inside versus trying to necessarily, you know how they always say if you're about to speak, pinpoint at a location, pinpoint at a place. I think it's almost better not to memorize it. I think it's a great tip because you can kind of let it take you in the way it can, you know?
It's more authentic.
Yeah.
And this generation as a whole is craving that authenticity. And the more that we speak from the heart, you create a stronger connection with your audience, whether it's 10 people or a lot of people, you can get a more personal connect with them. If it's rehearsed, you're going to get lost in the words. If you stumble, it's going to throw you off, and then it causes a lot of stress.
It loses the originality to it. So, Kelly, I know that you've spoken in so many stadiums across different places, different cities. What is the one thing you could say our generation A struggles with and B is kind of empowered with right now?
I would say confidence is what we struggle with. We have so many amazing ideas, but the confidence in our voice to actually share those ideas and feel like we can act on them, I feel lacks. And then the flip side of that is we have so much innovation. I've met incredible 10-year-old entrepreneurs who have their own businesses, and 16-year-olds who are engineering transformative technologies for the special needs. Like, we're doing amazing things. And so we have all the innovation and the tools, and because we're so connected with social media and everything, we can ignite real change. It just comes with the confidence.
Right. Okay. On the other side of the break, we are going to talk about what tips Kelly recommends for actually building this confidence, how we can do it. We're going to ask her to also tell us a few ideas of community leadership and what we can do. Kelly, before we cut to break really, really quick, I want to ask you, how important is community and being being, I guess, active in your community as a teen?
I would say it's probably the greatest asset and outlet you have.
Okay, your actual community and your space.
It's the one space you can have to grow your skills as a young person and show your potential to kind of expedite that ideal future you want.
Cass, do you do any community oriented activities and work?
Yeah, I do a lot of community service and stuff like that. We're all in high school, so we all had to do 40 hours of community service.
Wow.
Yeah.
But I did, I really liked doing it, so I have about 200 hours.
Have you doubled it to oh my God, Cassandra.
I like working with kids, so I did summer camp.
Okay, Matthew, what about you?
Well, I mean, this is community, right? We're here in the community and we're talking about
about issues that matter, yeah. So this is your community time?
For sure.
This is you empowering?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Nitka?
did a lot of in-school activities, so I joined a lot of clubs, councils, trying to get myself involved, try to become leaders in those clubs or councils. Yeah,
Very
those
cool.
kind of things.
Okay, so on the other side of the break, we're going to talk about that and so much more. Stay tuned, everybody. I'm Richika Binder, and this is #NoFilter. Hi everyone, welcome back to #NoFilter. Before the break, we were talking about community, the importance, and how leadership can play a huge role. So Kelly, as we were talking before the break, how can you be involved in your community, and how can you find it find it as a space where you can harness those skills we spoke about?
Well, I think community helps in two ways. One, for those of us who don't know what we want to do yet, when we were talking earlier, it's a great way for us to explore those interests early on and figure out, am I good at this? Do I like this? Do I really want to be doing this for the rest of my life? Right. Get that sense of what we like. The second thing is building our skills to kind of advance in our career beyond necessarily our current stage. As young leaders, we can't necessarily become a marketing director at a big company, but we can certainly become a marketing director or event planner for a nonprofit organization, demonstrate those skills, so when we do apply for a job, we have that experience and we can rise to that top of the pile.
Okay. Have you guys, when you guys work with community, do you guys do it because you actually want to engage, or do you guys do it as a space to kind of, pick up leadership skills? Because I remember when I was young, I was a very, I wasn't outgoing enough, but I wanted to be in the field of media, so I always said to myself, if I work around enough people, I'll begin to get comfortable with them. So I kind of did it more as a space to push myself, and in between of doing that, I fell in love with this idea of spending time with, our community and sort of the space that matters the most to us. So for you guys, is there a specific way you approach it?
I think for me, it's a mix of both. I volunteer in places for media to gain experience and to, get a little platform for myself. But if you love something, I think, do whatever you can. I take any risk you can to, improve yourself in any ways.
Yeah, and the way I see it is sometimes you're too young to have an actual job or to advance into high positions in the field, like Kelly was saying, and it's a good way to start low, but sort of experience yourself in different areas and see, maybe this is something I'd like to do. I can volunteer, I can help in the community in certain aspects of a job that I'd like to have, and so I can sort of dip my foot into the water, if you could say, talking about seeing things that you could do and how you might be able to work on that in the future, maybe going to university for it, studying it, something like that.
It's also a way to network yourself.
Yeah.
So you're so
absolutely.
young, and like you were saying, you can't have a great job when you're young. It's more like for a nonprofit organization or something small, but it's definitely a way to put stuff on your resume, get involved, and just network yourself, and now you have references.
Well, networks are a big part as well. It's despite how industry changes, it still is more not what you know, but who you know. Those introductions and those references down the road, particularly actually as a young leader, I've found been very valuable in creating a lot of opportunities and opening those doors.
Which reminds me, since we're also talking about, you know, everybody graduating, is there a space kind of where I find, because I experienced this, so, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, I find it's hard when you graduate to kind of get that mentorship or to get that person, like, if I want to be a marketing director, find that person, you know, at a top company that's going to sit there and kind of tell me what it's like or tell me that journey. We need a platform where we can bridge that gap. And I know that upcoming soon in the media landscape, you're working on something like that. So can you tell me a little bit about it? I think our viewers could really, I think, use it.
Yeah, I have two exciting launches coming up. One is I'm launching a new online chat series called Bridging the Gap. That's going to bring industry experts and then young, you can live interact with them and get candid answers to your questions and concerns about all various topics, whether it's bridging the gap in the job market or bridging the gap online in different areas, to really get those candid answers. And then the second thing is My Effect, my tech startup, is launching, and it's a community impact platform where we give you impact resumes.
Wow.
We have the first technology that automatically tracks your community actions, your volunteer hours, the skills you're developing, to develop basically like a LinkedIn for your volunteerism and leadership, to show who you are beyond your transcript. Because what I found as a young leader was your bachelor's degree or your top grades may qualify you for your job, but it qualifies you and every other candidate out there. It's these camps that you're volunteering with and media projects that are setting you apart.
It's the interpersonal relationships as well that they're building along the way, and the skills that they're picking up, you know, of being more confident, or like you said, developing public speaking. I think that's a great idea, because we are so much more than the degree we have, or, you know, the honors degree we have on our paper. And I think that's a really cool idea, especially the fact that there's a chat series, because a lot of people are shy to ask those questions. And you know, a lot of us want to just get basic answers from people that have been down that path and have experienced it.
Yeah, so certainly if you follow me at Kelly A. Laval, you'll get updates on everything.
Wonderful.
Otherwise, specifically the platform with impact resumes and the action platform to find opportunities is myeffect.today.
And for leadership, not just for the workplace, I'm going to say when you graduate from high school and you go to college, there's a huge learning curve. You're by yourself. You know, you're making new friends. You're learning new ways of life. There's a lot more independence. How do you kind of not necessarily have your leadership, but more your leadership on yourself? Kind of you have that control of who you are and you don't lose it. What can you recommend for our teens?
I understand that being different is good. Okay. I think that's probably the biggest lesson I've learned is, I mentioned I was bullied a lot in school, and I really hid who I was, and I always thought being different was a bad thing. Right. And I've learned to embrace that. So you always see me in colorful outfits and my hair accessories, and I'll stand out in a crowd. You can imagine me at a tech startup conference. I stand out. But I find that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So if you look at pictures, you can find me right away. People remember you. It's when you're at a networking event. It's not, oh, you're one of that girl that was dressed in black like every other one there. It's, oh, you were that girl in the hot pink that had that
great hair accessory on.
Like, they remember you by how you're different, and fashion isn't the only way. It's you're that one with that funny personality or that intellectual thought. Like, it can be other things, but the idea is being different is good, and finding your own and embracing that difference is probably the best way to stay true to who you are and let that identity almost create a personal brand for yourself.
Is that a fear you guys have, that now you're kind of going off away from the natural comfort of the high school space and those, you know, corridors, and now you're sort of on your own? Is that a fear you're sort of, or like, are you more excited?
Yeah, I'm completely excited. But it is scary because you've had the same friends for 4 years, all your teachers know who you are, and now you're going to this huge university or college where there's thousands and thousands of students, some who are not even your age, right? There's mature students, everyone's a different age there, and your professors don't know you. You sit in a lecture hall with like 600 kids. It's definitely something scary.
Okay. So Kelly, I want to thank you for being on our show. I think you left us with something very, very important, this idea of accepting that you're different. I think not just for the purpose of career. I think a lot of teens that are in their growing stages are always scared to be who they are. And I think it's important to accept it with confidence. And we wish you all the best on your future endeavors.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in to #NoFilter, everybody. And we will see you next week.